So your health doesn't succeed or fail because of one habit. It succeeds or it struggles based on how well your systems are integrated. So in this episode tonight, we're going to slow the cameras down. We're going to step inside the blueprint and look at the architecture that holds your life together. This is the integration blueprint. And I'm telling you now, once you understand it, the way you think about your health will never be the same again. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. Welcome back. And to those of you who are new to me, that's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. I want you to have the success in your health, just like you're having in other areas of your life. We want you to show up for those things that are important, the family, the friends, the connection, and those dreams that you've been pouring into. You don't need superhuman strength. What you need is a strategy you can trust, a plan you can follow, and the support and the determination to keep showing up every single time. Hey, if you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap on some music. And let you know that I am excited that you're here. Whatever platform you're joining us from, wherever you are joining us from, go ahead and drop that in the comments. Whatever city, state, town, village, country, even that you are joining us from, we want to make sure that you are here. Go ahead also and drop in the comments if you are new so that we can say hello. If you have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat and make sure you put a Q and a colon in front of that so we know that that is a question that we need to get to. And then a special shout out to our Accelerator members who are out there. Thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. This channel is designed to help you be able to show up and be able to plug in to the various things that we have that are part of your health. So if you are new, or if you're coming back, or if you've been here and you simply want to reorient yourself, if you go to the channel, there are two playlists that I want you to pay attention to. One is entitled Start Here. So if you want to know what we teach, how we work, what the path is that we've been on, that is where you would go, and it's simply called the Start Here and the Start Here playlist. If you want to know what's going on this week, the things that are happening this week, the conversations we're having this week, the videos that we're having this week, if you want to know what I'm going to eat for the last time before I start my fast, or when we end the fast, what I'm going to eat to start my eating window, you want to show up, and that will be in this week's videos. And one of the important things that we've been doing, and one of the fascinating and one of my most exciting series that we've been doing is the MOVE campaign, Metabolic Optimization via Exercise. So let's go ahead and let's listen to that right now. Welcome to MOVE, Metabolic Optimization via Exercise. This isn't just about workouts. It's about moving your body, moving your habits, and moving your life forward. Each episode builds consistency, strength, and resilience step by step. I'm Dr. Dwain Woode, and together we're writing the story of health, transformation, and limitless living. This is MOVE. Let's get started. All right. So excited about that campaign. So if you've not taken the opportunity to jump in and to join us for that, I want to make sure that you get out there and do that. Moving is one of the most important tools that you have that can help with your metabolism. All right. So we are going to take a look at a few things. I've got my monitors that over the last little while. Just for those of you who are out there, as you've been following, we'll talk a little bit more about this as we get into the next several weeks. Our Blueprint series, right, is we are in week number 8, by the way, of the Blueprint series, and so we've got a few more episodes that are going. As we get to the end of this month, There are going to be some changes that we'll have in terms of scheduling. We'll talk a little bit about that, so make sure that you are paying attention to those. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars. And the first one that I want us to take a look at here is, this is my Freestyle Libre. And the Freestyle Libre right now says, well, it did say, there we are, says that my blood sugar is 78. Now you'll see that right there. And then down below, you'll see what my graph looks like. So let's go ahead and let's put our finger on there and kind of run through. So this is the last 12 hours. So earlier in the day, we were in the 90s. And then right around lunchtime, we started eating. And there was a salad, right? This is the salad right here. And these are chicken fingers right there, that part right there. And then this is a chocolate chip cookie I found in my refrigerator in the office. So notice that, right? So here, so there's the salad, there's the chicken fingers, and there's the cookie, right? So we got up to 158, and then back down to right at about 100, 101. And then what we've been the rest of the day down to where we are right now, okay? And so what we'll take a look at, and I'm going to go back when I get to my Dexcom, and we'll take a look at 24 hours. Why don't we go ahead and let's do that right now. And let's jump over. Here we are. So here is the Dexcom, and my Dexcom says that right now I'm 108. If I change the 24-hour view, right, and you know the Dexcom tends to be a little higher than the Freestyle, so we're looking at down here. And let's kind of scroll through and find where we are. So here is, so we were down at 103. Here's the salad. Here's the chicken finger. Here's the chocolate chip cookie. And then down to 136, 148, 149, and then down to where we are right now at 108, right? So notice that. And so starting at, was that 12-ish, let's say 12:30, and we popped up, right? So here's 130, so 137, and then let's go to 230, right there, we're 161, 330 at 198, 430, 530, and then here we are now. Let's go 630, just so we keep it in a 1 hour box. So 114, okay? And so that is what's been going on with my blood sugar over the last 24 hours or so. We're coming off the heels of Thanksgiving, and so let's take a look. Let's go to this view. Let's take a look at what's been going on with my blood sugars. Let's go over the last 3 days. So Thanksgiving was what, 4 days ago? So here's the last 3 days, right? 119 average blood sugar. Last 7 days, 118 average blood sugar. So that's within that is within the Thanksgiving period. And then of course the last 14 days, 112. So over the course of the last 3 days, 117. Last 7 days, 118, and we usually tell people we want their average blood sugar to be between 100 and 120. So we've kept that in that course. Okay, all right, and then let's go ahead and let's take a look at what my numbers are based on my monitors over here, and we'll compare that to what my continuous monitors are saying. So for that, let's go over here, and I need a brown for glucose, a blue for ketones, and then I need a strip for the contour, and then of course I need some lancets. All right, so let's get that over there. All right, here we are. And let's get a strip out for the contour. And if you're there, go ahead and start dropping in the comments. What do you think my ketones are going to be, right? Because we've not been fasting since last week. Let's get that in this one. We've not been fasting since last week. Here is the Keto Mojo glucose strip. And then we're going to go ahead and open up the ketone strip as well. Just have that off to the side. And then just grab one of our lancets. Get that open, find a finger, and we're going to just pick on the same finger like we've been doing. All right, poke, poke, poke. Let's see if we get a good, okay, that was not brisk, but good enough drop. And get one on the contour as well. Get those started. And so 91 is what the Keto Mojo says. The contour says we're 96. And if we get back over here, we'll see that the Dexcom says 108. And then 71 is what the Libre says. So they're all kind of within 10-ish points. Of course, the contour or the Libre is 71, so 91, so that's 20 points. And then the Dexcom is 100 and what was it? 108. So you see we span anywhere from 71 to 108. And so for those of you who are out there, let me go ahead and get this ketone started because I can see that drop drying already. For those of you who are out there who have questions about the numbers, you say, oh, my monitor is always different from my finger stick, and the answer is yes. They can be 20% different from each other, and that still be considered within the target range. Okay, so what do you think is going to be, by the way? Here we are, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So low. So ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. Ketones that are 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and then above that would be therapeutic ketosis. Come on back as we go through the week. You'll see what my numbers are. We will start our fast tomorrow, so make sure you are joining us for that as we get through the week. Okay. All right, and then let's go ahead and say hello to some of our community members. I see you out there. So let's do this. And I do see Gian. She says, hi, Dr. LLG. Gian says she missed the live. Yes, we had our live last week, and then we were off for a few days because of the holidays, and then we are back in the saddle right now. Let's see. Happy to see you again. Hello, Gian from Little Pig. And I'm assuming, is that you, Steve? I think so. Yes. So Gian is saying hi, Steve, and Gian is saying low. Yes, yes, yes. Low. Everybody's guessing low, low, low. Yes. And that's where we are. It is low. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to hop into our discussion for this evening. And because this is a very interesting one and a very important part of our conversation as we continue in the Blueprint series. So let's go ahead and let's hop over there right now. All right, so we are continuing our blueprint series. And in this episode, we're talking about how your health systems actually work. Okay? And we start by laying some grounding, all right? Some foundational ideas and thoughts. And so we ground ourselves in a simple idea, is that you don't change in isolation. Your metabolism doesn't change alone. Your emotional health doesn't change by itself. Your habits don't change alone. Every part of your health is constantly interacting with every other part. And one of the issues that we have is when we talk about health, we tend to talk about health as though everything is in a little bucket by itself. And when one system breaks down, we wonder why that is. And it is because there is an interplay, and if we're not understanding that, then we lose focus, we get frustrated, and things go awry. Okay? So when one thing happens, it puts pressure on all the others. And most people think they're struggling because of a lack of motivation, but what they're actually experiencing is a breakdown in integration. And so here what we want to do is we want to show you why that happens, and more importantly, we want to talk about how to fix it. And to get us there, we're going to walk through this in a few stages, well, 4 to be exact. What is integration? What does that really mean? What happens when systems don't work together? How to identify your personal points where you might be having some struggles, and finally, how to build a system that actually holds your life. So that's where we're heading. Now, when we started the series, we did a show, and the episode was how to build a life that holds the change that you're designing. It was essentially the concept. And so that was the how, right? So that was the theory of it. And now we're coming back and we're saying, okay, now we've talked about the theory, we've built these several blueprint concepts, right? For instance, we talked about resilience, we talked about reflection, all of those, we talked about energy. And now we're going to implement that, we're going to put it together, and that's the whole idea behind the concept of integration, right? So integration, so the integration blueprint, how your health systems work together. And even as you're looking at the slide that's there, right, I want you to take a moment to notice, even the title tells a story. The diagram that we have, so the blueprint in the background, the integration and the connection in the puzzle that's there. The idea that a system, that there's a structure, that things are working together, that is providing stability. This is the lens that we are using, tonight. Okay, so the first question we have is, what really is integration? Right? What really is integration? And most of the time, we think of integration kind of, as I mentioned before, one simple thing, right? We think of it in one way, and that is not actually the case. Most of the time, when we talk about improving our health, what we do is we talk about isolated areas, right? We talk about needing to stop eating sugar. Great idea. We talk about needing to sleep better, or I need to exercise more, or I need to manage my stress. These are all important goals, but they're isolated goals. Integration is different. Integration says that, yeah, those are important, but what we want to do is we want to find a system that ties everything together. And so that is the idea that we are dealing with in this episode. What really is integration? Because integration is systems in relationship, how all of the things work together. Put simply, it's what happens when your body's systems, your routines, your decisions, and your environment all support the same direction. It's the point where your sleep supports your hunger supports your food choices support your glucose supports your energy supports your habits, and your habits support your health moving forward. Okay? So integration means they're no longer fighting each other. Let's make this practical. If you sleep poorly, then your hunger signals tomorrow will be louder. That's not a character flaw. That's not a personal defect. That's physiology. If you're stressed all day long, your glucose will run higher. Not because you ate the wrong thing or you did the wrong thing, but because cortisol and epinephrine are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They're designed to go find energy for you to help manage stress. If you skip meals unpredictably, your metabolism responds erratically. People say, oh, I'm going to be good today, so I'm not going to eat. Well, you didn't plan that. And when you don't plan, it's a great idea that you want to do that, but that's not in keeping with what you normally do. And your body responds to that. Not because you're bad at routines, but because the body likes predictability. This is the integration that we talk about in real life. Okay? So that is what integration is. Well, integration is equal to consistency. We want it to be consistent. When systems work together, stability appears. Most people blame inconsistency on willpower. Man, if I was just strong enough, if I really put my mind to it, right? And we go through that, if. But inconsistency is almost always a systems problem, not a motivational problem. Most of us, put your hands up, most of us want to be healthy. We're motivated to be healthy. But if your environment isn't set up for success, motivation collapses. If your sleep is unstable, your appetite becomes unpredictable. If your routines don't support your energy, habits fall apart. Integration is how we fix all of that. So now that we know what integration is, let's talk about the opposite. Because this is where most people live without realizing. This is the part that most people feel every single week, even if they've never had words to describe it. When your systems don't work together, the experience is predictable. You feel like you're always restarting. You feel like you lose momentum quickly. You feel like every small disruption knocks the whole week off course. Oh my goodness, I was doing fine until my sister came to visit. I was doing fine until we had to take that trip. I was doing fine until the holidays came. This is not because you're broken, not because you lack discipline, but because your systems are not supporting each other. Yeah? So let's talk about systems. So when systems don't work together, what actually happens? So instability follows misalignment. When systems are separated, your mindset goes one way, your routine goes another, your energy goes another. Stability becomes impossible. Let me show you what this looks like in everyday life. Sleep misalignment, for example. You plan to eat well tomorrow. You plan to make good decisions. You plan to stay consistent because you are motivated to be healthy. But then tonight, you sleep poorly for whatever reason. Tomorrow, you wake up with high cortisol, sharper hunger pangs, lower clarity, less energy, more cravings, less emotional capacity to handle the things in your life. Suddenly, your food decisions feel heavy. That's not failure of motivation, because you were motivated. You planned it last night. That's a systems mismatch. How about stress management? When your stress is misaligned. Maybe your food choices are good. You exercise routinely, you fast in rhythm, but stress is uncontrolled. Now your glucose is higher because remember, cortisol goes to find energy. The energy currency in the body is sugar. Your hunger gets louder because your insulin level goes up. Your patience is lower. Your routine is unstable. And you say, why am I doing everything right, but nothing is working? It's not that nothing is working. It's that one system is pulling all the weight. Yeah? Or maybe you organize your eating. You plan ahead. You anchor your fasting. But the environment around you doesn't match the plan. There's snacks everywhere on the counter. You've got an unpredictable schedule. There's constant interruptions. Reminders around you of old habits. The people you're around. The routine gets pulled off track, not because you are weak, but because your environment is not integrated with your goals. That is a systems problem. So now let me show you what happens when multiple systems fall out of sync at the same time. Because this is where a lot of people feel the collapse, right? And this is the cascade effect. When one system is unstable, the others compensate. When two systems are unstable, compensation becomes exhausting, but still doable. But when three systems become compromised, collapse becomes predictable. We call this the cascade effect. For example, right? Simple but powerful example. You sleep poorly, which means that your hunger, we just said, hunger increases. Your hunger increases, the cravings sharpen. So you're craving things that you normally would not. You eat more frequently because it calms you. The glucose stays elevated and fluctuates. Your energy has those big drops because it goes up with the glucose and drops. Your routine collapses. And you look at this just like, man, I can't ever get ahead. So your motivation goes down. Your drive to be healthy goes down. Your drive to want to continue goes down. That causes increased stress because you're already worried about your health. That adds additional stress, additional worry. Your sleep worsens and the cycle repeats. Nothing in that sequence was a moral failure. Nothing in that sequence says that you have to be stronger. Nothing was a lack of discipline. It was simply systems interacting without intention. It was that the systems didn't support what your plan was. So if the problem in the system pull against each other, right? What's the solution? The solution is systems working together. Every person has one system that tends to lead the breakdown. We call this the dominant system driver. The system that when it falters, pulls everything else off track. And most people don't know theirs. But once you do, your entire life can change because it shows you exactly where the focus is or should be and where to put your energies. And exactly where small adjustments can create big results. So what is the dominant system driver? What is your dominant system driver? We're going to find the first domino. And there are 4 dominant drivers we see over and over and over. They fall into a few categories. Now, we've talked before about the HEAT model: habits, emotions, access, and taste. This is not a discussion about the HEAT model, but the HEAT model describes what the things are that occur. Right? What are those driving things? And here we're talking about what happens when the systems are not aligned that allows the HEAT model, habits, emotions, access, and taste, to become so intense that they pull us off course. You get the idea? So when the systems don't work well, when there are compromises within the system, that domino effect, then when we are triggered by the things that we discuss in the HEAT model, then they become more amplified. So 4 dominant drivers that can affect everything. Number 1 is sleep. Number 2 is stress. Number 3 is our routine. And number 4 is our food structure. So let's walk through each of those in turn. Number 1, sleep. For most people, if sleep is off, everything is off. These are the individuals, these are the people who crave more the next day. They snack at night. They feel foggy in the morning. They lose routine by noon. So they are just done by noon. And they rely on sugar or caffeine to stabilize them through the day. Their first domino is sleep. And they're always feeling like they're pushing the boulder uphill because of the lack of sleep. Number 2, for other people, there is stress. Now, everybody gets affected by stress, but some people are more apt to be drawn off course because of stress. These people can eat well, they can exercise, they can fast, they can hold the routine, but the minute stress rises, glucose goes up, hunger sharpens, emotional eating increases, decision fatigue appears, routines wobble, and it collapses. So their first domino is stress. And then there are people who their routines are the issue. There's no predictability. Every day feels different. There's no anchor point. There's no rhythm. And without the routine, biology gets confused. Hunger becomes inconsistent. Glucose becomes unpredictable. Energy feels unstable. Their first domino is the lack of rhythm. And then there is food, right? I gotta put my hand up, food. There are people whose breakdown begins with their food structure. Not the food itself, but the structure, meaning eating too frequently, grazing throughout the day, skipping meals unpredictably, which gives unpredictable results in their bodies. They get headaches, they get jittery, so all those symptoms. They eat late. They mix high sugar with high fat. High sugar, high fat. There is no anchor times. They don't have a consistent routine throughout their day. This throws the metabolic system into chaos. Their first domino is food timing, food composition, food structure. Once you know your driver, the next step is understanding how that driver influences the other systems. And that's where we go next, right? We talk about this integration grid. Integration grid. And for the integration grid, I want you to imagine that you have a sheet of paper. And the sheet of paper is divided in 4s, right? One line down the middle, one line across. And in each quadrant, there is one of the things we just talked about. sleep, right? So some people, there's sleep. For some people, it is stress. For some people, it is routine. And then, of course, for some people, it's the food structure. So you got your grid, you took your paper, divided it in half and half again. And every system, I want you to notice, touches every other system. The grid shows those 4 major areas that we just talked about and how each one influences the other. It is a circle. Yeah. Because this is the part of the integration blueprint that's important. How systems shape each other. So let's take a deeper look at how these systems can interact, because this is where health either becomes stable or it becomes chaotic. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is connection. When your systems are connected, your decisions feel easier, your hunger feels quieter, your glucose responds better, your energy becomes more predictable, your routines feel smoother. Right? So let's go ahead and let's talk about each of these. So number 1, sleep, hunger, food decisions. The body resets overnight. When sleep and hunger work together, food decisions stabilize. But when they don't, here's the pattern. Poor sleep, high cortisol, high ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone, low leptin, which is the fullness hormone, more cravings, especially for sugar and simple carbs. Because I've as long as I've been practicing, I've never had anybody say to me, I crave broccoli, or I crave green beans, or I crave a salad, right? It's always I crave cookies, candies, cake, right? Pasta, bread, potatoes, all the things that are high in carbs and high in sugar. So we crave more carbs. Because of that, right, we have this appetite that pushes us to graze. So we're grazing throughout the day, which causes higher glucose, a constant tonic level of insulin. That leads to lower energy because we're having fluctuations in our blood sugars. And we get even poorer sleep. This is why many people will say, right, patients, clients, he says, I do well until about 8:30 at night. I get the munchies. I snack even when I'm not hungry. Those statements, those comments usually come back to sleep misalignment. So that's one of the things that happen. Let's look at another. All right? Or let's do a real life example before we get there. Let me go back. Yeah, let's go back here. So you finish dinner and you're fine. You feel satisfied. But by 8:30, 9 o'clock, when that time comes, suddenly you want to eat again. That's not a motivation issue. It's not a craving issue. It's not a discipline issue. It's a, hey, let me go get some sleep issue, right? It's a sleep, hormone, glucose integration issue. This is why understanding the rhythm and the systems matter more than judging the behavior. So, man, when I'm up late, this cascade happens. And if you've not paid attention, start paying attention to that. So sleep drives hunger. Yes. Now let's look at what happens or what drives glucose stability, right? So that's our next one. So stress, glucose, and routine stability. Stress is a metabolic event. Ooh, let me stop there. Let's put a pin right there and let's talk about that. Stress is a metabolic event. When stress rises, even if you're eating perfectly, your glucose has to respond. Remember, stress says to the body that I'm in danger. That's what stress means. It could be physical stress. A lion is chasing you. You're falling. You've hit yourself. You're ill. Or it could be emotional stress. Something is going on the job. Something is going on with a relationship, right? There's some financial, something is going on. So when stress rises, the body thinks you're in danger and it responds by going to find energy, and the energy currency in the body is sugar. So even if you're eating perfectly, your glucose responds to stress. And the sequence goes like this. Stress causes cortisol, the stress hormone, to go up. When that happens, glucose goes up. If glucose goes up, what has to come out? Insulin has to come out. Insulin can cause appetite stimulation, cravings, weight gain. People can feel fatigued. It causes other metabolic issues, as we've talked before, high blood pressure, cholesterol. This throws our routine off because we're irritable, we're fussy. We know something is going on, but we just can't pinpoint it. We get off routine. We start to make poor decisions, poor food choices, and that now leads to additional stress. This is why some people say, I didn't even eat anything different, but my sugar, my glucose went up and my weight's going up. I'm not doing anything else. Stress is not emotional only, it's also biochemical. It's a metabolic event. It's not just, it's an emotional thing. It affects your biology. So let's bring that into real life for a moment. Many of you have seen this on your sugar monitors, on your Libre, your Dexcom, whatever finger stick you're doing. You've seen it on the scale. You've seen it how you interact with other people. You didn't eat, but a stressful meeting happens, a difficult conversation, running behind schedule, trying to multitask, trying to keep up, and suddenly your glucose jumps 20, 30, 40 points. Your weight goes up. That's not a food problem. That's a physiology problem responding to your environment. So we've seen sleep driving hunger. We've seen stress driving glucose. Now let's take a look at what drives our decisions. So routines, predictability, and decision ease. So the body loves rhythm. Body loves rhythm. The body is designed to be in rhythm. The body runs on rhythm. When your day has predictable anchors, when there are those points throughout the day, wake up time, hydration, movement, eating window, sleeping cues, your body loves that. Your biology settles. You stop negotiating every decision because there's calm. You stop debating with yourself. Should I eat it? Should I not eat it? Oh my goodness, that's bad for me, but it's going to taste so good. Where we go through that process, you stop talking to yourself or stop talking yourself into bad choices, and your brain takes you to right choices. Routine lowers cognitive load. It lowers friction. You're pre-deciding what you're going to do. It is the routine or lack of routine that is the place where most people have their issue. So let me share something I've seen over and over for years. Patients who have predictable routines, even simple ones, do dramatically better with fasting, with food choices, with stress regulation, glucose stability, mental clarity, and consistency. Now, I've had people say to me, well, I can't be that predictable. I'm pausing because I'm waiting. And my question is, how come? Why not? Now, everything doesn't have to be predictable, but the more predictability you have, the better it is. And the people who tend to have better responses have built a routine. They weren't born that way. They have created that. And I've seen that in my own life. When I have anchors, when I have clear bookends on my day, everything else feels lighter. When I pause before I leave the office and I do my brain dump, when before I go to bed, sit and I do my journaling, when I wake up the next day, things run smoother, my blood sugars are better, I feel less frazzled, I make better choices. The routine carries the load. So my brain doesn't have to carry every single decision. This is the power of integration. This is the power of routine. This is the power of systems. So now that we've seen what happens with those various areas, now that we've seen what pulls systems down, let's look at systems pulling upward, because this is where the Blueprint series becomes powerful. All right? Let's talk a little bit about integration and the positive integration loop. And the idea here is that small alignments create big change. When systems support each other, momentum becomes predictable. When you get better sleep, you have more stable hunger. When you have stable hunger, you have better food decisions because you're not having those tough cravings. When you have better food decisions, more stable glucose. More stable glucose leads to less insulin production, more consistent energy, better routines, lower stress, and bloop, 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 pop, better sleep. This is the upward loop. We talked before about the one that goes the other way. This goes up now. And it simply happens with one single thing: better sleep. When we have better sleep, we have better capacity. You've had those weeks, right, where everything feels easier. You don't overthink. You don't force. You don't wrestle with cravings. What happened? What happened that week? Maybe that week your systems clicked. You weren't more motivated. You were more integrated. And when you have integration, systems work better. And so now that you've understand the positive loop, let's bring the entire thing together, right? Let's integrate that into the Blueprint model. So design the connections. So this is the full model that we're using. In this framework, every system supports the other, stabilizes another, influenced by another. It compensates for another. It strengthens another, or it weakens another. The key is not perfection. The key is connection. The key is integration. You don't need every system perfect. You need them working together. Now, the question becomes, how do we actually apply this in real life? Right? How do we apply this starting this week? That's where we're going next. Making practical the things we just talked about. So now that you understand the system, let's talk a little bit about how it actually works this week. Because information only becomes transformation when it becomes what? Practiced, right? And integration is not built from a major life change. It's built from small strategic corrections, course corrections, adjustments every single time. So small adjustments make big results. Small adjustments make big results. So let's walk through it. And there are 3 categories of micro adjustments that create the biggest changes. Number 1, sleep protecting adjustments. Pause, 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 because I can hear it, right? Because I'm talking to myself, by the way. Sleep protecting adjustments. Number 2, stress reducing adjustments. And then number 3, routine stabilizing adjustments. These are the 3 levers that you get to pull that will drive us and help us to do what we need to do. So micro adjustments. Let's talk about sleep. So these adjustments are the things that you need to put in place that will help you get better sleep. Things like shifting your bed routine or bedtime 15 to 20, maybe 30 minutes earlier. I know. It's like, well, I can't go to sleep that time. This is just like I had a friend who did a session at a conference, and it was called, if you don't treat it like a job, you won't get paid. If you don't treat it like a job, you won't get paid. And I'm going to co-opt that, and I'm going to apply that to your health. If you don't treat your health as a job, and the idea there is you treating it importantly, treating it with the care and with the attention that it needs, and doing the things that it needs to be successful. If you don't treat your health like a job, then it's always going to be a struggle. So I'll tell you that I've adjusted my schedule many times for my job. They wanted me to be there half an hour earlier. And guess what I did? I changed things around so I can be there half an hour earlier. When I was in residency, you needed to be there at whatever ungodly hour it was. Guess what we did? We went to bed earlier so we can get up, so we can be there on time. Shifting your bedtime. Creating a consistent wind down routine so that you just don't show up at the bed and just fall out after you have no more energy. Limiting late night stimulation. People will watch TV until they go to sleep. And then, right, they're not getting good, restful, restorative sleep. Anchoring a predictable wake-up time. So going to bed in enough time so that your body naturally... Now, do you know that your body will wake you up without an alarm when you've had enough sleep? If you're always fighting the alarm, then you probably didn't get enough sleep, which means that you need to adjust your sleep pattern. So protecting, right? And then reducing evening snacking, because that has we can do a whole show on that. You don't have to fix everything. You only need one small adjustment that makes your sleep system better, that moves it towards stability. If you simply move your bedtime earlier by 20 minutes, your hunger cues the next day often can stabilize dramatically. That's integration. Number 2, stress reducing micro adjustments. So we're talking about stress reducing micro adjustments or micro adjustments. The first one is sleep protecting adjustments. This is stress reducing. Now, these include simple things that you can incorporate at any time. A 5-minute breaking pause, breathing pause, mindset pause. I can't tell you the number of patients, clients that I have discussed this with who have implemented this, who have seen dramatic improvement in their stability in sugar, weight, stress, everything. Well, not everything, but you get the idea. So 5 minutes. Maybe you're breathing. Maybe you're just doing a mindset thing. Walking after stressful interactions. Just taking a moment and moving. Change a muscle. Move a muscle, change a thought. lowering your sensory load, your noise, the clutter. There's always stuff going on. Turn some things off. You're in the car. Leave the radio off. Just drive in silence. Clean up your office. I'm in the process of cleaning up my studio. I had all kinds of wires and stuff running back there. I went out and I bought or ordered online some stuff, and now all the wires are under my desk. I don't even know what to do with myself now. The floor back there is clean. I can't see the wires. I don't know where the wires went. Right, take the clutter out. Taking a 60-second reset. Writing down one positive. Writing down a worry. Keeping an I can journal. Setting boundaries on your phone usage and on how people interact with you, how people can access you. Stress is a metabolic event. Small reductions create large downstream benefits. So a patient once told me, I didn't change anything about my food. But when I stopped checking email after 9 p.m., my blood sugars improved. That's not coincidence. That's physiology responding to intention. Microadjustment number 3, right? Routine stabilization. So we got sleep protecting, we got stress reducing, and now routine stabilizing. These are things like setting one anchor time, morning or evening, that will anchor you. I talk about bookends, so I do morning and evening. But pick one if you can't get both in. Preparing hydration for the next day. Right? Getting things ready. Planning your first meal or your first fast. Deciding bedtime in advance. Creating your list of to-dos for tomorrow. So one of the things I do is in my electronic journal, I have a to-do list for today, and then I copy it, date it tomorrow. I take all the stuff from today off of there, and what's left is what I had to carry over, and then I add the new things. So I know what I'm doing tomorrow, and then I prioritize those. Right? So deciding. Putting walking shoes and your clothes by the door. Put them in your bag. Put them in your car. Because if you've got to come home to get them and then go back, it's not going to happen. Get home, put the car in the driveway, and go for your walk. Routine. Routines lower cognitive load. It decreases friction. It removes the friction. It makes the right decision the easier decision. And your body will do the thing that is easiest. So we've looked at adjustments that you can make. Now let's take a look at what you can use, right? So some questions. These are questions that you can use that will help you. This is one of the most powerful diagnostic questions in the entire Blueprint series, is what changed? What was the first thing that changed? And you want to ask this anytime your hunger shifts, glucose levels rise, energy drops, routines break, cravings increase, sleep worsens, motivation. What was the first thing? What went wrong? We're not asking what went wrong. You're asking which system moved first. Find the first shift. Every pattern has a beginning. When you identify the first shift, the pattern becomes clearer. The solution becomes obvious. The effort becomes smaller and the structure becomes stronger because now you've identified. Integration is a detective story. You trace the pattern back to the first movement. A patient once told me an interesting thing. It says my whole week fell apart on Wednesday. I said, what do you mean on Wednesdays? Yeah, on Wednesday, everything was going fine. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then boom, Wednesday. So I said, well, what changed? I don't know. I was eating the same. I wasn't fasting. My blood sugar seemed to be good. Sleep, I wasn't sleeping that well. So one night, I didn't sleep well the night before, a couple of nights before that. And then by Wednesday, guess what had happened? The capacity to absorb life changed. One night, one shift, one system. And everything else, the domino effect happened. When that was corrected, everything else settled. And this is a perfect place where we talk about the IDL, the inner design loop, right? The IDL is this mental framework that helps you bring your systems back into alignment. Has 3 parts: anchor, alignment, adapt. Anchor, alignment, and adapt. Let's walk through them. So anchor, right? Internal, this is your, let's go back here. This is your internal integration, right? Anchor, align, and adapt. So what is true right now is the idea. Not emotional truth, but biologic truth. What's happening in your system? What direction am I actually trying to go? Is my align? Does my current behavior support the blueprint? And then adapt. What small, helpful adjustment can I make? Not big things, a small one to help me move in that direction. So number 1, anchor. What is true right now? What is true? What do I know to be true? Not the emotional truth, but biologic truth. Is number 2, align. Does my current behavior support where I want to go? And then what small change can I make? All right? So let's do a real world example. So you're sleeping poorly. And let's back up. You're feeling hungry. Let's start there, right? So you feel hungry. And the question is, am I truly hungry? And so what is the truth? The truth is I'm not hungry because I just ate. Well, the truth is that I'm not hungry. I know that. And I'm not sleeping because I'm up. So align. So that's the anchor, the align. How is my current behavior supporting where I want to be? Say I want to improve my blood sugar. I want to improve my weight. I want to improve my thought process. I want to improve my relationships. Is my staying up supporting me in that direction? I want stable blood sugars. I want better decisions tomorrow. Is this behavior, staying up late, supporting that? And then adapting. What is the one thing I can do, small change, to make that better? And what do you think it is? Small, simple, aligned. Go to bed. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to throw myself in here. This is the challenge. This is one of my challenges. So you already know what the issue is. Small changes. We're not talking about, changing your whole day. Small changes. So we walk through the model, the grid, the drivers, the adjustments, and the loop. Now let's put everything together, right? And I want to give you 3 questions. And we're going to integrate these into our daily lives. You ready? Here's the 3 questions. What system moved first? We talked about the systems. Which one moves first? What system needs the most support today? And what is one micro adjustment I can make that integrates the whole structure? If you practice these questions daily, your entire health experience changes. So we're integrating daily. It brings clarity, it brings stability, it brings momentum, and momentum takes us to success. So integration creates fewer restarts. Restarting on Monday, or I'll start next week, or I'll get back to it. It's smoother energy, so better energy levels, more predictable hunger waves that come, cleaner, clearer glucose levels, easier routines, lower stress, higher consistency, stronger resilience. This is the system you're needing to build. If you don't have that, that's the system you've been missing. So we've covered how your systems interact, how misalignment creates instability, how to identify your dominant drivers, how to trace the patterns back to the first shift. What's the thing that changed first? How to use those micro adjustments, how to apply the inner design loop to bring everything back together. And now you have the integration blueprint. This is not about perfection. This is about connection. Your health changes when your systems cooperate with each other, not when you fight them one at a time, not when you fight harder, not when you white knuckle it. And the beautiful part, you don't need to do everything perfectly at the same time. You need your systems working together to support each other. That's our blueprint. That's the integration blueprint. We continue walking through the series. Join us for our next episode. All right, and you guys know I'm going to say it. Yeah, that's one of my favorite, one of my favorite conversations, right? The Blueprint series has been one of my favorite series because it is the place where we put into practice a structure that allows everything else that we learn to work. I want you to follow that. So a lot of the things that you've learned, a lot of things that you've heard, a lot of things that before you got here on the channel, a lot of things that you've been trying, they're not wrong. A lot of the motivation you've had, not wrong. But why is it not functioning? Why is it not working? Because it's not in a system. Systems work. Motivation will come, motivation will go. But when you have a system that is integrated, it allows you to be successful even when, here it is, even when motivation is gone. Even when you don't feel like it, the system still functions. And that's the beauty of what we do. The Blueprint series, amazing, amazing. Love it, love it, love it. Let's go ahead and let's say hello to some of our community members. I see you guys out there. Let's see, where did we start? Where did we stop? Let's get this one. All right, here we are. Let's see where hi, doctor and everyone. I'm so glad to see you doing okay. Let me go back up. I'm scrolling back, make sure I don't miss anybody. So Pam, what's up, Pam? Pam is saying hello. Thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. Gian saying hi, Pam. Missed you, Pam. Hi, Gian. I'm doing okay. And Steve is saying hello. Hey, doctor and everyone. What's up, Teresa? Thank you for coming through as well. Hi, Teresa from Gian. And how are you? Teresa says, hey, Gian, I'm good. How are you? Just everybody greeting each other. I love that. I love that. Glad to hear that you're doing okay. From Teresa to Gian. And then let's see, Teresa said, doubt that you're so right. I've been having problems waking up 3 and 2 o'clock in the morning and not being able to get back to sleep. I've got to make some adjustments. Yeah, so we do a lot of things. What makes you predictable routine, right? So predictability has to do with putting ourselves on a routine, right? So you're not born predictable, right? So you are predictable. You build predictability into your day. So I'm going to do X. For example, we have predictability in our fasting. On Tuesdays, we start fasting. Right? We fast Wednesday to, right? So it's predictable. So we don't do that on random days. Other than when, for instance, we were traveling last week, so we moved it a day earlier. But on a regular basis, boom. I know it, you know it, my family knows it, the people at work know it, everybody knows it. It's a predictability. Okay. And then let's see. So Teresa said, I understand. Or Gion says, I understand. Boom. Okay. So yes. So that's the blueprint episode 8, y'all. The integration blueprint, your health systems working together. As always, your time, your presence, your commitment to designing a life that holds change is admirable. I love it. I love when I get to walk through this with you. I love when I get to walk along with you. And remember, you're not trying to force your health into existence. You are building the structure that allows it to thrive. That's what we're working on. Motivation comes, but it's the system that will take you in the direction of success. We're designing the life, we're building the health, and we are living limitlessly. And everything we do here is built on our Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, we encourage. We educate with the shows, with the blogs, with the podcast. We empower with the tools that we're learning, this blueprint series that we're walking through. And we encourage with the community that you are part of, that you are helping to build. You are a voice for success in your own life, in your family, in your community, at your church, around your neighborhood, in your doctor's office. There are so many people that are not having success because they don't have the structure. And you can get to say to them, hey, I know how we can do this. We can walk through this together. I'll go with you. Bring them to the channel. Have them go through the Start Here playlist. Have them walk through this path. Sit down and watch this episode with them. Yeah. Be a voice that says to your family, to your friends, we don't have to keep doing like this. And it happens when we integrate our systems together. And as I say, I'm always excited when I get to hang out with you. We will continue our series, the Blueprint series, next several weeks. As we get into the weeks, by the way, so our final show for this year is going to be on the 22nd of December, right? Final show for this year is going to be 22nd December. And our first show for the new year, I think is the 5th of January, is when we will have our first show. So between those two times, between those dates, we'll have some replays, some recasts of the shows that we have. So we'll talk more about what that looks like going forward, but begin anticipating, right? So as those dates are coming through, make sure you're joining us as we move into those dates, and then be ready, because the point of the Blueprint series, remember, is that we are not waiting until January 1 to start thinking about our health. Everybody else can do that. They can do their New Year's resolution. They can say, okay, on January 1, I'm going to start doing X. But we started already. And the Blueprint series is designed to give you the concepts, to give you the basis, so that come January 1, we're hitting the ground running. Right? We're no longer going to try to figure out what we're doing. We already know what we're doing. We already got the structure. Right? So come join us as we move through the next several weeks. This week, of course, we've got our fasting, which will start tomorrow. Join us for that. You get to see what I eat for the last meal before we get into the fast. We'll do that pop-up. On Wednesday, we'll do our 24-hour pop-up, and then, of course, our 33-hour check-in at 9 p.m. Central here on the channel. On Thursday, we've got our 48-hour pop-up and our 56-hour check-in on the show. And then on Friday, we do our complete review of fasting, how to get into the fast, how to prepare for the fast, how to successfully make it through the fast, and then how to break the fast. And you get to see what I eat for the first time after 72 hours of fasting. Come on by. By the way, if you have some recommendations, come on, send them to me, right? Send them to me. We've done Pam, who's out there, one of our community members. Pam gave us a recommendation of something, and we tried it. We made that. Cornelia gave us a recommendation. We did that as well. I said, did Gion give me something? I don't remember. But if you have something that you want me to try for breaking the fast, go ahead and send that, and we will, as much as possible, try to get that done. Okay. So come on back by tomorrow as we begin the fast. And like I said, remember, we're not trying to force our health. We're building it with structure. We are intentionally making decisions. Thank you for coming through. We'll take a look at this MOVE campaign here in just a minute. But this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here we educate, we empower, and we encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. I am here to help you have the success in your health, just like you're having in other areas, so you can show up for those events and those things that are so important for you, those occasions, the people in your life, family, friends, those connections, and for you to be able to enjoy the dreams that you've been pouring into. You don't need superhuman strength. What you need is a strategy you can trust. You need a plan you can follow, and you need the encouragement, the support, and the determination to keep showing up every single time. We'll see you as we go through the rest of the week. For our community members, that link will show up in the community area in just a minute. We'll see you after the show. Welcome to MOVE, Metabolic Optimization via Exercise. This isn't just about workouts. It's about moving your body, moving your habits, and moving your life forward. Each episode builds consistency, strength, and resilience step by step. I'm Dr. Dwain Woode, and together we're writing the story of health, transformation, and limitless living. This is MOVE. Let's get started.